Welcome back, guys. So let's talk about Mandalorian Season 2. And I didn't talk about the first season of The Mandalorian on this channel, I don't think. I did, of course, see it, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was great. And like I usually say for most stuff, it's usually great. But I watched it whenever it came out initially, like this season. The first season I watched right whenever it came out. I finished it immediately every time they had an episode every week, so I didn't wait longer than that. And I really enjoyed the first season. But looking at season two, it's definitely a different hybrid. And I want to say quickly, because I haven't talked about Star Wars as much for a while on this channel, and I guess I got a good reason for it, because Star Wars, like for the movies, I really feel soured by them. Like I'm not really in the mood for Star Wars movies anymore, which might be a good thing for this show. And I'm not saying I don't want any other Star Wars movies, but after watching The Rise of Skywalker, I really, my thoughts soured on that trilogy and the movies as a whole, because it's like it ended on in that way. And I usually hate to be a petty person like that, because there's so many people who are so petty against The Last Jedi. But looking at The Rise of Skywalker, in my opinion, I don't know how you could think that The Last Jedi is a worse movie, or even a bad movie. People just look at it from a fanboy point of view and not from like a filmmaking standpoint. I think from a filmmaking standpoint, The Last Jedi is one of the best, one of the best written, one of the best acted, and incredible cinematography as well. But The Rise of Skywalker was just really incredibly lame, and it really just ruined kind of how I felt about the Star Wars films. Like I want more, because I know they're gonna do probably better than that one, but I just really was really just not in the mood for the movies anymore for a while. So I'm glad to see that we got another season that's really great, because The Mandalorian season 2 didn't really surprise me, because I kind of expected it to be that still be good. And honestly, if you're talking about like wow factor, this is more watchable than the first season. But the first season, I think, is great on being its own thing in the Star Wars universe, as opposed to this one, where it really does connect to a lot of lore and a lot of characters throughout this universe and this franchise in season 2. So first season, like I said, I really enjoyed. I thought they did a great job with it. I liked how it was very standalone from the Star Wars universe, even though it was in the universe. I really enjoyed that. And I, of course, enjoyed Baby Yoda as well, Grogu, in this version. Or in this season, they revealed it. And before, I should have said spoilers before that, but people already know his name's Grogu if you've seen the show. And also, spoilers for anything, movies, TV shows, usually typically last a day, and then they'll post online everything about the spoilers. So again, spoiler alert if you don't know Mandalorian season 2. But let's get started. First, I want to talk about the characters, because this season does a really cool job of putting in all these characters from the universe in it that I did not expect. So it's weird. The one character I'm really not going to talk about that much is Jin, the Mandalorian. He's great. Pedro Pascal is great, but honestly, like, it's one of those characters where you have to have characters balance the main character, if that makes sense. Baby Yoda is his crutch, or Grogu is his crutch. I'm going to keep making that mistake, because I know the real name, but I just was so used to calling him Baby Yoda. But Grogu is his crutch in the show. He's trying to send him to a Jedi at the beginning of this season, in season 2. And he, along the way, finds a lot of friends. And the first one I want to talk about, which I thought was really cool seeing this character in live action, was Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff, who I really love and enjoy already. But it's funny to see her in this show, because I've seen the Clone Wars, I've seen Rebels. I don't believe she was in Rebels. I can't remember now, but I know she was in Clone Wars, with the wars, Mandalorian wars. So it's funny to see the actress come back to be the live action version of it. I thought that was really cool, and I really enjoyed that. And I thought that this character really does have a story connection that by the end of this season, you really have to have her in it later, because this character, who is trying to get the Darksaber that Moth Gideon has, and by the end of the show, whenever she realizes that she can't fully get the Darksaber, which she's wanted for a long time, because the Mandalorian has got it now and not wanted a fight by her, and she's got to win by a fight. I thought that was really really cool way of for the next season to show them maybe getting into a big quarrel or fight because they have by her rules they've got to fight. And I like how Moff Gideon is that sinister that he does that at the end of the last episode. But Bo-Katan is great. Katie Sackhoff, like I said, I really love her and everything, and I enjoy her. And I really thought it was awesome seeing her in this, just as the live action counterpart of her voice version. And speaking of another character that I really liked, but is not the same voice actress, is Ahsoka, which is played by Rosario Dawson. And this was, it's weird to say it was a surprise, but it wasn't a surprise because we knew that people were really, really wanting her to be Ahsoka in the show. Like they wanted her in live action version Ahsoka in like either a movie or a show. And I thought the whole time like they're not gonna go with that. It's such an easy answer. But they did, and I was surprised that Lucasfilm and Jon Favreau they all did this. They brought her in and made her part of the show, which was just really surprising because, like I said, I expected her to be not in the show because they were just saying so many fan theories about they'll make her into the show, like they'll put her into the show. So I expected them not to put her in the show. But that's so great she is because Rosario Dawson, again, like Katie Sackhoff, is awesome, and I really enjoy seeing her in anything. And watching her in this, it really surprised me. And I like too that even though Ashley Eckstein, who voiced Ahsoka in the Clone Wars show, who's fantastic as well, I like how even in this one, with Rosario Dawson playing this character, it's so similar. I really do appreciate the fact how close they are. In terms of that, they really do have such a similarity to each other where it feels really, really precise, like very, very precise. So I really, really like that. And her episode alone, I thought was one of the best episodes. I thought visually it's one of the best. I thought having her introduced that way and having her bring in the idea of her fighting Thrawn, which we just got the announcement of the Ahsoka TV series on Disney Plus, so that's probably going to be what's going to happen. And that's really cool because Thrawn at the end of Rebels, spoilers for Rebels, like he and Ezra are gone, so where are they at? That'll be awesome. Hopefully Ezra will make an appearance in the Ahsoka show as well. But I know that Star Wars just got like 2 billion TV show announcements. Like, it's insane. And they did get a movie announcement, but that's it. They only got one movie announcement and a lot of TV shows, but Marvel did as well. So Disney Plus is going to kill us with watching Star Wars shows, which I'm fine with because, like I said, I love Star Wars for the most part. And I'm glad to see, like I said, I'm glad to see the casting of Ahsoka in this show. It's really awesome to see Rosario Dawson, and again, she just plays it so incredibly well. Just weirdly enough, being a different actress than the voice actors, because like I said with Katie Sackhoff, like she's the same in the show, but in this version it's different, but it still works very, very well. And then I got to give a quick mention to Cobb Vanth, who Timothy Oliphant played. He was just in one episode. He had Boba Fett's armor at the beginning of the season. And he also rode part of Anakin's old pod racer, which was a cool, funny reference. Just seeing that made me laugh. I was like, really? Star Wars is very much not... Like, there's so many coincidences in Star Wars. So it's just funny to see that. But I like that little nod. But it was like, really? Like, okay. All right. And then let's talk about Cara Dune. So Cara Dune, I think, in terms of just being a character that's strong-willed and just a very cool, badass character, I thought the actress really does a great job. I'm honestly blanking on her name right when I'm recording this. Sorry I'm blanking on her name, but she's really freaking awesome, and I just really enjoyed her performance as well. She was just really, really likable, but also just very tough in a way where it's not pandering tough. It's not like, oh, she's a girl and she's tough. It's just she's a tough person, and I like that. They don't have to point it out. They just make her a tough character, and that's awesome. And she really stays throughout the season, and I like that she kept going because there was a moment in the season where you're thinking she's gonna not come back, but then she was brought back a lot more, and I really enjoyed that. And so I mentioned her, and then I mentioned, as I dropped my paper, we'll mention Moth Gideon. So Moth Gideon is, like in the last season, the villain, and he had got the Darksaber at the end of the last season, and now he's acquired it. Now he is taken Baby Yoda Grogu, and he is going to use that for cloning, which I think is so fascinating because it feels like it's gonna be an instance like the Star Wars prequels, where I do really love the Star Wars prequels, but it does it to where if you watch Empire Strikes Back, the Luke I'm your father reveal, it's not the same if you watch the prequels first. So I can see why people don't like the prequels in that way, in a lot of ways, but I also can see why with that kind of thing they're like, really, they're going to reveal it, and then the twist in Empire kind of means nothing. I understand that from both ways, but it's so funny to see in this one that they haven't explicitly said it yet, but I feel like it's going to be just a Snoke connection. Like, it's going to have Snoke and the cloning, and how in Rise of Skywalker Snoke was just a puppet for Palpatine, so they're going to keep going with that, which, like, I'm not a fan of that in the Rise of Skywalker, but it's for continuity's sake. You got to do that. You got to connect it, and I'm not going to be annoyed because I felt wrongly about a movie. Like, I'm not going to be mad that they're connecting it to that because they have to. It's canon, whether I love it or not. And I really don't hate Rise of Skywalker, but I just have so many complaints about it that it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. But Moth Gideon, again, is a really cool villain, and I like the fact that, like most of these characters, it's at face value. I'm not saying these characters are complex, really, but I liked the performance of Moff Gideon. I liked how just conniving and evil this guy was. I thought it was really cool, and I really just enjoyed his performance. I thought it was really good. And props to the character Mayfield who came back, and I really like that this character has a full arc, and where he was an Imperial trooper, and then by the end of the second to last episode, he is free. Like, they make it look like he was killed in action, and he's free to live his own life now. And I really like that. And I like the fact that he and Mando, and Mando doesn't have his mask on whenever they're going into this Imperial center, and talks to an old commanding officer of his, who Richard Brake voice is the. Goddamn, Richard Brake. I'm talking too fast. Richard Brake is the one who is the commanding officer, and I really liked Richard Brake. That's really cool. Richard Brake is so conniving and smarmy, and I thought that was a perfect role for him in this show. You only see him once because he gets shot and killed, but I thought that was awesome. Just show that character, just show that actor, have them in it. That's pretty awesome. But I really, really enjoyed that. So props to both Mayfield and Richard Brake as well. Commanding Officer Richard Brake. I don't even know if they said his name, really. I think they didn't even say the commanding officer's name. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. That was really awesome. Now, I want to mention Baby Yoda, or Grogu. Grogu is... I really like that name, too. I think Grogu is a cool name. Grogu is like the last season. He does a lot of cutesy stuff. And he's one of the cutest things ever. Like, he's adorable. But really, by the whole season until the end, it's really just him doing cutesy stuff. And he uses the Force to connect with the Jedi a couple episodes towards the end, where he connects to a Jedi, which he'll meet at the last episode. But he really doesn't do a lot. But, I mean, I think that it works. I think that it's fine. Totally. So I really like that as well. And I like the fact that you get another character in this Boba Fett. Like, having Boba Fett back and having Finnick, who Ming-Na Wen plays, back again from Season 1, it is such a cool connection to the Star Wars universe. I love the fact that you get Boba Fett back, but Boba Fett in this show is nothing like he is in the original trilogy, in the way where he actually does something. Like, Boba Fett is very similar to, like, Captain Phasma and, like, the sequel trilogy, where, like, it's just this character to sell toys. It's just this character that looks cool. And that's it, and they die. And that's what Boba Fett does in the original trilogy. He kind of, you see him with a gun, and then by the end of Return of the Jedi, he just gets killed and into the Sarlacc pit. I guess he's not in the Sarlacc pit because he's alive. But that was really interesting to see Tamia Morrison come back, because again, that wasn't him in the original trilogy. But they did put in the voice of Tamara Morrison from Attack of the Clones into the newer versions of the original trilogy in Empire and Jedi. But it's so cool to see him back. I really love the prequel connections. I'm such a big fan of the prequel, so I like seeing those connections. I like the fact that Boba Fett is actually a character now. Like, he actually feels more like not just a prop. Because in the original trilogy, he was pretty much just a regular prop. He wasn't anything special besides a cool looking dude with a suit, with a cool suit, like Captain Phasma. Like, there's not really anything to them, which is fine for these movies because they're not trying to be like anything super like super smart. Like, they're not trying to be really smart movies. But I like that this character now, instead of being just a toyetic, like he's actually got some cool information about him. I like the fact that you connect to him and Jango Fett, and I like how you see that after Return of the Jedi, this character is just looking for his armor, and I think that that's just a really cool idea, a really awesome way just to bring back a character into the universe that you didn't see much of in the original trilogy, and in the prequel trilogy, he was a kid. Well, I mean, Tamara Morrison, since they're clones, he's like, you see Tamara Morrison, but then you see Daniel Logan as young Boba Fett. But really, it's not, there's not much to him, and I feel like this show added more to him a little bit in this kind of series it is, of this franchise that's pretty, like, straightforward, like, simple characters, but this simple character has a little bit more to him now than he did in the original trilogy, which I thought was really cool. And like I said, Finnick, Ming-Na Wen is just awesome again. I really loved all this casting for all these characters. And I'm jumping ahead here, but they already, at the end credits of the last episode, they announced that the Book of Boba Fett, where Boba Fett goes to Jabba's palace, and he becomes the leader there. That was really cool. And showing Finnick there by his side after he gets Bib Fortuna. That's awesome. I like to see Boba Fett get what he wanted. That's really freaking cool. So I really, really love that they do with all these original characters just from the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, and just bring them in and fully elaborate on them in this universe, but in a way where it feels so natural. But they make them fresh. Like, they make these characters fresh. Like, even Ahsoka, who's a character who's great in the Clone Wars, she's different in this. Like, she's got a different point of view because she has lived through all this stuff. And in Clone Wars, you see the end of Order 66 where she survives, but you don't see what happens afterward. I mean, you see her in Rebels, but I feel like she's not in that much. And this is only one episode, to be fair, that she's in, but I think that that's the most that I really enjoyed her in as a character. So that's one of my favorite moments of her, either this or in Clone Wars towards the end, Order 66. Like, I think she's a great character, but I like seeing her in this after everything went down. I think that's awesome, even after Rebels. So that's really cool. Like I said, just these characters are really cool, bringing them in. And again, with Bo-Katan, I don't know much about her from what I remember. I've seen Clone Wars, but I really don't remember her that much. I remember she's just this, part of the Mandalorians, and that's it. I really don't remember much about her, but I like seeing her live action iteration. Again, because Katie Sackhoff is great. But let's talk about, real quick, this is so weird because Star Wars, I've complained about it. People complain about Star Wars. People complain in this season, I forgot which episode it is, maybe it was like season 4, or episode 4 or episode 5 in this season chapter 4 or 5, my bad. Chapter 4 or 5, where Yoda eats the baby eggs of that frog thing, and people were all pissed off about it, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, he's a creature eating another creature. Like, that's gonna happen. I didn't really get that. But then again, I've complained about Star Wars. Like I said, I've complained about Rise of Skywalker. People have complained about Last Jedi. People have complained about every Star Wars movie. So it's pretty much just everybody's spoiled on Star Wars, I guess. So whenever something goes a little different, people are like, whatever, screw this. So I think that's weird. I didn't understand the baby Yoda eating, or Grogu eating the frog egg. That just didn't bother me. I thought it was kind of funny. But but really, I looked at that, and that's the only real complaint I've gotten up until the last episode. And the last episode is one I need to mention because if everybody's seen the new episode, I bet. And again, this is spoilers, but I want to mention that like the 30th time because again, people shouldn't know about the reveal in this last episode. So this is weird because the first season was very much self-contained on its own, and then this one, as it went along, it got a little more to connect to the universe in a good way, like with Ahsoka, with Bo-Katan, with Boba Fett. But by the end of the last chapter, chapter 16, they've got all the Dark Troopers, which look cool. They look kind of like Terminator type robots, and there it looks like everybody's just about to die. And then an X-wing shows up, and I didn't know the reveal beforehand, but looking at that X-wing, I was like, I just literally went, "Are you fucking kidding me? What? Seriously?" And I was just like in awe. And then, cause this is the fanboy coming out. Like, I really, really love the fact that Luke Skywalker is in the last episode, and I did not legitimately expect that in a Star Wars TV show because I don't know. I didn't expect them to do that. I didn't expect them to put a movie character, especially a character like Luke Skywalker, into the show, which is a positive for me in terms of like fanboyism. But I can see why people call it a negative in terms of being changing up the mood of this show, where it was a lot self-contained. But I guess to be fair, this season did solidify that it was connecting to the rest of the universe, and they did make a point to say that Grogu is going to find another Jedi. But we didn't know who. We didn't know if it was like Ezra, Ahsoka. Even Ahsoka said she's not going to take the kid. So it's very interesting to show that he's in this movie, or I mean in the show. Like, it really surprised me seeing him in this. And I see the complaint that people have gotten, even though I was still in awe of the moment, seeing Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi look like they de-aged him and made him Return of the Jedi looking Luke. It was like the end of Rogue One, where it's like, you know that that's not real. And it just took me out a little bit. But I did appreciate what they were doing because, again, Luke Skywalker is in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. It is revealed that he was training a group of Jedi until Kylo Ren killed them all, or killed a lot of them. I hope they didn't kill Grogu, but he killed a lot of them because Luke turned on Kylo. And I thought that was great, and I really wonder where they're going to go with that. I wonder if they're going to have Luke again. They might have him again, but Mark Hamill did the voice. But it's weird, the voice to Luke is sounding like Return of the Jedi, but it was like a quieter sound than the other audio. Like, it was very weird hearing that. I was just like, wasn't understanding why it was such less audio, but maybe it's because they didn't want to make it that obvious that it wasn't him in that time. And they did change his voice around, so I don't know. But seeing Luke Skywalker just in the show was just genuinely fascinating. And like I said, I really enjoyed it, even though it was obviously not him now. And it doesn't look amazing with the CG because, I don't know, they haven't got it down yet to where a person can move much and look just like they did in another movie. Like, it just depends on the person too. I remember that Disney did that in Captain America Civil War. They did it in a lot of Marvel movies, but like in Captain America Civil War especially, they did a great job with Robert Downey Jr. being de-aged as Tony Stark in the beginning of the movie. And for some reason that worked very, very well. But then looking at this with Mark Hamill, it doesn't look as well. And I wonder if it's just because Robert Downey Jr. looks more like he does still as opposed to Mark Hamill. But it's odd looking at him like this, like looking at Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi, but the CG just isn't great. Like, it's definitely CGI that I feel like if somebody watched this and did not know anything about Star Wars, just watch this episode alone. And I said this about Rogue One, about Tarkin. Like, if you watch that movie or if you watch this, and if you see a CG character, you're probably not going to know that it's a CG character. But because I have been like since I love Star Wars, I've watched it since I was a little kid. I know a lot about these characters and a lot about how they look in these movies. So watching this and watching him be CGI Mark Hamill, like de-aged, it's just, you can tell it's not him, or you cannot tell it's not him at this time, and it doesn't look as good. But like I said, if you didn't know anything about this and just watched this on its own, you wouldn't think that's a CGI character, which I guess is a good thing on their part in that way, but it's not a good way for like a person who's watched Star Wars for a long, long time and then see that and think, oh, that's definitely not him. But if you didn't know, you wouldn't look twice about it, probably. I don't think you would. It would maybe just look like the character's a little off, but people would probably not think it was CGI if this is the first thing they ever saw of Star Wars. So I think that in a way is good, and in a way it's bad. It's a weird combination, because like I said, I do like seeing Mark Hamill in this. That was so cool, seeing Luke Skywalker again. And doing the echoes to Rogue One, where door opens, fog, and Luke comes out and just starts fighting the super droids. Why am I? Oh, the Dark Troopers. I was blanking because I was talking too quick. I'm too bad at talking so fast. That's why I kind of stuttered earlier. But whenever Luke comes out and fights the Dark Troopers, it's really, really similar to Rogue One. But again, like poetry, it rhymes, like George Lucas said, which I think is fine. I like that. I like seeing the different color scheme, showing the red Darth Vader, like, killing all his people, and then showing in this one Luke with green killing all the Dark Troopers. I think that's awesome. I just really enjoyed that from a fanboy moment. That was really, really cool. And again, hearkening back to another movie, I love the fact that this show does not just connect to the original trilogy. Like, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, for the most part, disconnected to the originals. Besides The Rise of Skywalker having, like, the voices of the Jedi past. But that trilogy really doesn't connect that much to the prequel trilogy, which I guess logically makes sense because you're not going to see them, they're all dead. But I like that in this show they connect so much with all these characters in the prequels, because I love the prequels too, and I want to see more love from that. And even if people don't like them, they can find ways that might make people like them more with these connections. But what I was getting at is the scene where Mando has to give up Grogu, like he's going to go with Luke to be trained. That moment alone, I haven't felt, in a Star Wars thing, I haven't felt any kind of emotion for anything since The Last Jedi. Like, Solo, I thought, whatever, like, it's good, it's fine. Rise of Skywalker, I didn't really care. The Last Jedi, I really, really loved everything about it and felt all the emotion for it. It really got me in that way. And in this, it really got me with actually caring for a character, caring for Mando and Grogu, and giving up Grogu. That moment where he talks to Grogu is not line for line, but it's very similar to when Anakin says goodbye to his mom in The Phantom Menace, where she says, now don't look back, go. And then he says to Mando, like just go, don't look back. Like, he says it very similar. And I'm already forgetting the lines because I'm just overthinking it, but the lines that he says to Grogu is very similar to Anakin's mom. And then showing the shot of Grogu getting taken away by Luke, and watching her, like watching him watch Grogu be taken away, is this like Anakin's mom watching Anakin getting taken away. It's very similar. And the fact that you see Mando take off his mask again, to have Grogu see it, because Grogu touches his mask and he takes it off, really, really was a fantastically acted moment. Like, the emotion in that felt so real from Pedro Pascal. It was genuinely sad, and it really hurt to watch. Like, their friendship built very good and very solid in this show. And I know that it's gonna be a thing where he's gonna come back. And he also says, like, I'll see you again, just like Anakin says to his mom. Like, he says to Grogu, I'll see you again. So he's gonna see him again. And with Disney and these kind of things, like Marvel as well, where somebody dies or somebody leaves, they're not gone for good. They always do that. And I know they do that in most movies too, but Disney especially right now, they'll either somebody die or somebody leave, and then they'll come back in the next one. I know Grogu's going to come back in the next season. If not, I'll bite my words. But he's got to come back. Like, they're not gonna, especially with how much money Baby Yoda makes, they're not gonna sit on that at all. I don't believe that. Truly, I don't believe that. But that goodbye just was genuinely, like, I actually felt something in Star Wars. Couple movies ago, I didn't. Like I said, Solo and Rise of Skywalker, I didn't really feel anything. In this one, I really did, and I'm glad. I'm glad that this just made that much of an effect on me. I really, really enjoyed this season, especially because of the ending. But like I said, all the episodes are either solid or good. I noticed there's a lot of good directors as well. Peyton Reed, Robert Rodriguez, and Jon Favreau, I think, directed one. I think Dave Filoni directed one. Bryce Dallas Howard, I can't remember if she directed one in this season. I know she did one in the last one. But really, really just incredibly great show. Like, I'm just genuinely surprised how this show keeps going on its second season. And just, for me personally, as a fan of Star Wars, I felt very satisfied. After a couple of movie duds, like Solo I liked fine. Rise of Skywalker I thought was really, really whatever, and I really didn't enjoy it that much. I thought it was okay. I'm glad to see a Star Wars thing in the Star Wars franchise that I'm enjoying now. And I know with Star Wars, there's so many freaking Star Wars things now. So many shows. There's like 30 shows they just announced, which is ridiculous. And then all the movies, and then the more movies they're going to announce. I think after this pandemic is over, they're going to announce more. They just are waiting. I think are holding their bets. But Star Wars is just going and going and going. And there's, of course, going to be some things that I don't like in it. But I'm glad that I got the thing I really liked the most in this season. It's really, really great. Everything about it was really awesome. Even the worst episode is just okay. I don't really know what I'd say what the worst one is, but I think it's still a really great season. Overall, really enjoyed the hell out of this one. So that is it on my thoughts on The Mandalorian Season 2. I think I talked for a long time. I'm trying to see if I have a time. No, I don't have a time. But that's it for today. Tell me down below what you guys think of it. And I'm glad to have talked about this, because I haven't talked about Star Wars in a while since Rise of Skywalker on this channel. So that is it. Thank you guys for watching.